Welcome to another exclusive look into African aerospace and defense. Our focus this week is on the SACAA's inaugural Aviation Industries Growth and Safety Conference. Well, here are some of the highlights of the pertinent issues that were discussed at the conference.
You know, aviation is one sector that brings too many other sectors together. And we think that if we as the country can begin, to sit around the table and clearly define what kind of growth that you want to see, it's well and good to have all these projections from the International Air Transport Associations, from the International Civil Aviation Organizations in terms of the growth in the Africa continent at large. But the question is, as the projections are so encouraging, have we begun to have conversations that will then drive us towards defining the national targets or defining the kind of growth that we would want to see?
Accident rates in Africa has not been very good if you look at it against global accident rates. In the last couple of years, however, between 2011 to date, we have seen a trend towards reduction, which is a good news. However, even though we are seeing a decline in accidents, on average, African accidents are still 5 times higher than the global average. Several initiatives on the continent have always ended up being proposals on what can be done. But to be able to do this, you need resources. And as I indicated, in most African countries, there's a competition for the limited resources of the country. And invariably, some of the countries think that aviation is still the luxury for those who can afford it. And therefore, priority of the resources go into other sectors other than aviation, thus exposing the aviation sector. The solution lies in African countries understanding that we don't all need to have airlines. What we need is air services across the continent, and not that every country necessarily needs an airline. So if we have this understanding, we would allow the states that are able and capable to run airlines, countries that have viable airlines, to continue to do air transport business, serve the entire continent effectively. The second way of actually solving this problem is to look at regional oversight of the continent.
Another company operating in a very niche space is DCD Protected Mobility. I had the opportunity of talking to their general manager, Andrew Mears. It's a company that comprises 11 businesses, each focusing on a manufacturing niche and a recognized leader in its field. The companies are long established, with the oldest in the group having been in operation for over 100 years. The company I'm talking about is DCD. I'm joined now by Andrew Mears, General Manager of DCD Protected Mobility. Welcome to the show. Great to meet you today, Andrew.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Just if you can give us an overall sense of the company itself, but also to focus in particular on the defense and security industry in Africa, and what is it unique that you bring into that space?
Well, DCD itself is an engineering business, predominantly in the heavy engineering sector, but Protected Mobility is a special company that is totally focused on designing and manufacturing special purpose tactical wheeled vehicles for the military and security market.
Mm-hmm. How broad is this market, and how spread out are you in terms of what you're offering to the market in other parts of the world, in Africa?
Well, we focus specifically on niche products because there are really big players out there like BAE and General Dynamics and even Denel. So we focus in a very specific niche around with special purpose vehicles around the route clearance capability. Our flagship product is the Husky vehicle mounted mine detector, which has been sold in a number of countries throughout the world, including some countries in Africa. And it has a very special focused purpose in keeping routes clear and open for civilian and military use during conflict and in post-conflict situations.
So when we're talking about niche, what we're really talking about is technology niche. And do you also custom make your products to suit clients in different areas?
Absolutely. Our products sort of originated in the late 70s and early 80s due to the landmine threat that so the South African Defence Force at that stage was facing along the northern borders of Southwest Africa, or now Namibia, and in our own sort of Limpopo province. These vehicles were designed specifically to deflect and absorb blasts from a variety of explosive threats. And although they were very basic at that time, this technology has grown and been adapted over the years. And DCD Protected Mobility is one of the companies that has been at the absolute forefront of developing this technology. Our vehicles are specifically sensor platforms, or the Husky vehicle is specifically a sensor platform that carries a wide variety of sensors, not all developed by us, but we are integration specialists as well, to allow users to detect and mitigate the threats they face.
Now, you've obviously achieved a lot of milestones over the years being in operation, but what would you say has been your biggest achievement to date?
Well, our biggest achievement is definitely the type classification of our Husky vehicle-mounted mine detector on a program of record with the United States government. We're the first South African company to ever have achieved a milestone like that. And we also, with the variant of this two-seat variant of this vehicle, were one of the US Army's top 10 innovations of the year in 2010.
Well, congratulations, well done to you. How challenging is it right now to operate?
It's very challenging. The market is very tough out there in the defense sector. There's not a lot of business going around, although you won't think so if you look at the amount of conflict that's there in the world. But the markets are post-2008 and the period that has followed after that are very depressed. And while there are some big programs in countries that do have money, even in the first world countries, there's not a lot of business out there. And so you have to fight very hard for what you've got. You have to look after what you have and support the equipment that you do have out there in the field. But there are some significant opportunities that we are pursuing.
It's a very, very unique space to be in. How do you strategize when it comes to your expansion plans?
Well, I mean, where we have, as I explained to you in the beginning, we have seen ourselves as designers and manufacturers of special purpose tactical wheeled vehicles. We're actually migrating into a space where we see ourselves as route clearance specialists, providing solutions rather than just vehicles to our customers. So that is the shift in our strategy and our focus. That's what's taking place within our environment. And if you have a look, just in Africa, there's a significant threat running west to east across Africa. There's a lot of conflict. Even the South African Defence Force in Kivu in the DRC recently uncovered a cache or bomb-making factory for IEDs. So the threat is coming to the African continent as well. Both Kenya and Uganda have already purchased our equipment at some stage in the past and are utilizing it in Africa, besides obviously our own Defence Force that has our equipment in service. But even the European companies have a route clearance center of excellence, and they are building capability to be able to deal with this kind of threat in the operations they partake in internationally, whether it's part of NATO or United Nations operations. Both Spain and Turkey have bought our equipment very recently. In the past, prior to that, the UK has acquired some of our equipment, and the French government has also acquired some of our equipment, and they use it in these operations. So we do focus around that as well. It's small quantities per country, but if you add them all together, over time, it is a significant opportunity for us to pursue with this product and adapted versions of this product to meet users' requirements.
Well, thank you so much for your time. We wish you all the best, and we thank you for this opportunity today.
Okay, thank you very much.
Last week, we also attended the VIP Open Day during the 4th IPSAMAR naval exercise in Saldanha, South Africa. Here's what went down.
The issue of piracy is threatening the economic activities of the world. And we've experienced it in East Africa. Now, here and today, part of the objectives of this exercise, which is called IPSAMAR, speaks to the issue of asymmetric Asymmetric, therefore, would mean the pirates would, when they feel like, when they think there's an opportunity, take up any ship which might have a cargo which is very important cargo, and they might choke the sea route and then make life difficult. And then here, that exercise was to at least have the forces boarding the ship, dealing with the piracy, and be able at least to make sure that that can be dealt with.
IPSAMAR means cooperation, and the three countries have common interests. And IPSAMAR means that we have an opportunity to work together, our navies to work together. Since we left Simonstown, we started making exercise, and I'm sure after 3 days that we improved a lot our interoperability. We have a big challenge in IPSAMAR because you see, when we are in our country and we have our own ships, we are working almost every day trying to get the best level of training. You can imagine if when we are operating with 3 different navies, 3 different classes of ships and helicopters and special team operations. We have almost the same doctrine, but they are not the same.
This is INS Steg's first visit to South African waters. The ship was commissioned in 2012. INS Steg got this honor and opportunity to participate in IPSAMAR, and we've already finished the first sea phase. It was extremely professionally satisfying for the crew and for the officers of INS Steg.
Brazil gives lots of importance to IPSAMAR and make efforts to send a ship here with a helicopter team and a special force team to do this operation. We truly believe in the South-South cooperation, and that's why our intention is to always participate in the IPSAMAR operations.
Well, it is important that the 3 countries work together at a political level, because the agreements and the multilateral relation and, of course, the partnership which moves the 3 countries to argue and put up positions in the Security Council, which is the United Nations, that we can be able to push a certain direction.
The very purpose of navies around the world is to ensure freedom of the seas and security of the high seas. What the Indian Navy is taking back from here is that for ensuring that we meet common challenges, for example piracy or humanitarian disasters, it is extremely important that navies understand each other, so that when the time comes we can operate with each other and we can render the best possible assistance for a given situation.
And that's the end of our weekly edition on African Aerospace and Defence TV. Stay tuned to this channel for weekly updates. Until next time.